Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features Marvel Comics Presents number 78 from 1991, and this is part 7 of Barry Windsor-Smith's Weapon X saga, which ran for 13 parts in Marvel Comics Presents. The cover here by Barry Windsor-Smith, of course, penciled, inked and coloured by him, featuring Logan in repose subsequent to his transformation via the Weapon X program. He is here filled full of wires and tubes and looking, although in repose, the worse for wear. We can see some blood emerging from his nose there. And just great colours on this piece by Windsor-Smith, these unexpected violets and magentas and green and yellow in Logan's hair. Very much a representation of Logan as animal machine in this image. So let's open this one up to the credits page, and what we see here for Weapon X is a little kind of preview of the content of the story. Logan has survived Experiment X's first field test, teaching the professor more than he wanted to know. The credits are Barry Windsor-Smith credited with story and art, and letterer Jim Novak and BWS. So what that means is that Barry Windsor-Smith has laid out the speech balloons and captions for Jim Novak to letter, and also Barry Windsor-Smith has handled the sound effects on the art itself in the various panels. So here is our first page. Every installment has 8 pages of story and art. The first one here, a big anchor image of Logan unconscious and with all those wires and tubes hooked up to him, and we have a conversation between the professor here and Dr. Cornelius regarding the status of Weapon X. So the professor asks Cornelius, "Are we proceeding?" And Cornelius replies, "Spinal codes are in, it's just a matter of final sensor graphs now." So we get all of this conversation around the weaponization of Logan, and really what the professor is concerned about is he wants a 10-mile control radius for Logan, and Cornelius makes the point he knows that, but the batteries are just too heavy, and the professor insists on having his way. He wants a 10-mile radius. So there's some bickering there between the professor, who's overseeing the Experiment X / Weapon X program, and Cornelius, who is making it happen physiologically and anatomically in respect of Logan. Great drawing as ever by Barry Windsor-Smith in the anchor image. Great kind of 3/4 profile upshot of Logan. Great fun Windsor-Smith has had here with Logan's hair, which has really grown out in this process, and which amplifies the kind of bestial look in this storyline. And also just a great drawing of the hand with the splayed fingers here, and these spikes that are running into his hand as well. So quite a lot of body horror in this comic throughout. So let's push on with the rest of the story. As I said, each installment is only 8 pages long. Another great anchor image of the laboratory with Logan being opened up by these various technicians and being fitted with these various tubes and spikes and so on and so forth as part of, as I said earlier, the weaponization of his body. And we get this very grim, horrific status report from Hines here at the computer board, where she says computer indicates leakage of semen and marrow into the intracellular fluid. So that's just an indication of the degree to which they have cut up his body as part of this transformation process. And Logan starts coming around here, which the professor exclaims, "Good God, he's coming around." But Cornelius is more relaxed. He says, "Don't get jumpy, Professor. We have to keep him floating so we can trace the relay flux in his nervous system." "Do you mean he's conscious?" "Yeah, partly." So in order to work this intervention into Logan's body, they got to keep him partly conscious, which means he's in pain. And we see that here, this pain reaction on this page, these 3 amazing panels where we see the blood leaking from his mouth, where we see his head turning to face us and then down onto the medical table. And we have the representation of his moaning here unconsciously because of the pain. And we get a reading here: sensory cortex from Heinz monitor is overloaded, sir. There are no readings. So he is in a lot of pain. And just again, great command of anatomy, great storytelling in these 3 panels here, and a great amount of detail in them as well. So let's continue and then look at this for a splash page. We have Weapon X with the battery, with the helmet, ready to go. So the professor here says, so the sutures are all healed, are they? Not quite, professor, says Cornelius, but enough for this purpose. We could wait a few minutes if you prefer. No, the professor's impatient. Let's get on with it. So Cornelius has got Weapon X up to a little over 9 miles. The professor's a little bit unhappy about that, but he wants to get onto the control console and manipulate his creation. So just great art here. Love the colors on the page. Always love magenta. Love, as I've said in previous videos, how Barry Windsor-Smith renders flesh with not just that peach pink color, but also other colors like olive and blue, and picks out white highlights on the body as well. So you get unexpected colors, which is much more the way that true human flesh reflects light. So there's a little comic moment here where this technician explains to the professor how to use the levers on the control console in order to move Logan. So the technician is here tapping away on the console, and he is here showing the full articulation on the claws. So he's tapping away, and out pops one claw, and then he pops it in and pops another one out, and he's speaking in a very mocking way, like, this little piggy went to market, this little piggy stayed at home, this little piggy, and the professor's impatient. But just great rendering of this moment to moment, and the zoom in on Logan's hand, the back of his hand, and the claws going in and out, and just the implication that he's being turned into this lump of meat and metal to be controlled by others, and the horror of that. So the professor moves the technician away, and he says, I've got the idea, staff, and your entertainments are entirely out of place. Oh, sure, right, says the technician. Sorry, prof. And then he thumbs his nose at the professor behind his back. And Cornelius, I like this little detail, this storytelling detail. Cornelius there is looking over at the technician and smiling wryly. So they're having a little fun at the professor's expense, because the professor is incredibly pompous and arrogant. And he is going to have an embarrassing moment in front of his staff, where he gets Logan up off the chair, and he says, you see, Cornelius, how the naturalistic movements imitate the human. Yes, and how discrete adjustments create the effect of, but like, he's so maladroit at the control console that Logan just falls over on the ground, and this guy just says, Weapon X, he like walkies. So there's no humanity there, no empathy for Logan. Cornelius isn't on board with that degree of mockery, and the professor here just explodes. Shut up, blast you all. Professor's always very concerned about his reputation and that people respect him, and by virtue of that, of course, he loses respect. So Cornelius apologizes and tells the boys to take a break and get out of there, and the professor, like a Silver Age villain, just shouts, yes, get out, buffoons. Meanwhile, Logan's there on the floor. Love the colouring here, the indigo and yellow on Logan's body. And the professor here is deflated. He says to Cornelius he's never been so insulted, but Cornelius says, lighten up. They did a good job. You got what you wanted, as he hands him a coffee. Here, have this. And what say we call it a day, huh? So the professor says, no, the experiment isn't over, Cornelius. I have to know if it's safe. And Cornelius says, he's safe. He's wired and shut down. Let it go, professor. Professor here is concerned about himself. If I am safe, you fool me. Logan tried to choke me to death, remember, in a previous installment of the saga. So Cornelius says, look, when the power's on, you got him by the tail. When it's off, like now, he's just dead meat. You wanted that, you got that. But you have to be sure, right? So go spit in his eye. Then you can be sure. I've had enough of this circus for one day, Professor. I'll see you tomorrow. So great top-down shot here with the checkerboard floor. That's difficult to do it all in perspective. Barry Windsor-Smith, a master of it. Really well done. And so Cornelius walks out, slams the door behind him. We're on the floor with Logan. We're at his point of view. We've got this kind of worm's eye view up from Logan's hand up to the professor. So the professor is there, silent, turns around. Is he going to spit in Logan's eye? This is a great final page of this installment. No words, no captions, no sound effects. Just this moment of disdain and dehumanization and degradation of Logan. The professor turns the cup of coffee and he just pours the boiling coffee on Logan's face and watches impassively as the coffee flows down around the contours of Logan's face. It's a dehumanizing move, and we see this drop of coffee just roll off Logan's eyelid as the professor continues to watch, and the camera, or the point of view, just pulls back from the professor here as he's watching vulture-like impassively at Logan and what he's done to him and how he's dehumanized him. So there you go. I do hope that you enjoyed this read-through and review and commentary on Weapon X, the continuing saga of Weapon X. This is part 7, including the prologue. So we're more than halfway through. And let me know what you think of Weapon X in general, this particular chapter, in the comments section in YouTube. And if you like this video, please like it in YouTube. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.